Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about recently held Navy Day, that is Indian Navy Day celebrated in the Sindhudurg region of Maharashtra. So we are going to discuss about what is the significance of this particular day, why it is celebrated and how it is celebrated. So let us first of all try to understand the brief context of today's topic of discussion. So as we can see, the Indian Navy Day is celebrated every year on the 4th of December, mainly to recognize the role and contribution as well as the achievements of Indian Navy in the entire history of India. Date also holds historical significance because it commemorates the success of Indian Navy during the Indo-Pak War that occurred in year 1971 and where Indian Navy has launched an operation known by the name of Operation Trident. Now, if we talk about this particular year, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, he has attended the celebrations at Sindhudurg, that is situated in Maharashtra, where the naval forces have carried out an operational demonstration to showcase their strength. He also at the same time paid tribute to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and also unveiled a grand statue of him in the process. Now, obviously, since there is a lot of talk going on that why Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj has been associated with Indian Navy. So the reason is because if we talk about the medieval history of India, the Marathas had a very strong navy, especially since they were governing the western coastal region of the Maharashtra and the nearby areas. And Indian Navy thus also, whenever you talk about any documents that it releases, it always has acknowledged the seafaring prowess of the Marathas under the guidance of Shivaji and also in the later Maratha kingdoms. Also, if we talk about the impact of the Marathas on the Indian Navy, so first of all, training establishment that Indian Navy has situated in Lonavala has been named as INS Shivaji, and shore-based logistic and administrative hub of the Western Naval Command that is situated in Mumbai has also been named as INS Angre, where Angre is named after Kanoji Angre, the celebrated Maratha naval commander. Not only that, we talk about just last year, the Indian Navy has changed its insignia, and now if you compare, this is the current insignia, it is very similar in the shape that we can see the octagonal shape that has been taken again or derived or inspired from the Marathas naval insignia. So Indian Navy document in this manner also basically says that Shivaji realized the importance of having a secure coastline and protecting the western Konkan coastline from the attacks of Siddhis. Now Siddhis were a group that belonged to the Afro-Indians ethnic community, and they were allied with the Dakkani Sultan's fleet, and that is why the Marathas always, since they have a kind of battle and war going on with Dakkan Sultans, they also wanted to fortify their settlement and also have a strong navy so they can suppress any kind of attack or surprise attacks launched by the Siddhis from African region. Not only that, if you try to understand about the Shivaji's navy, so empire of Shivaji, as you know, reached the west coast somewhere in the 17th century between 1656 to 57 when his dominions touched the Kalyan region of Maharashtra. In the same year, he also decided to establish the navy in order to protect his territory from the Siddhis, as we have discussed. But at the same time, the other objective of Maratha's navy was to ensure the security of ports and the movement and transportation of merchant ships, because it is the security of these merchant ships which brought a lot of revenues in terms of custom duties and on, and these are revenues that continuously kept coming into the Marathas' coffers. His vision for establishing a naval wing of his military was based on his belief in what he called as Jalmev Yashya Balamev Tashya. That means if or he who rules the seas is all powerful, and that is why to have a powerful kingdom of Maratha, it is very essential to have a strong foothold in the coastal regions and the seas stretching all the way from the western coast of Maharashtra. Between 1661 to 1663, since Maratha kingdom has, or Maratha king especially, even after Shivaji had paid a lot of attention to the navy, it came into existence and its peak included about 400 odd ships of various kinds and sizes. These included both larger battlefields as well as other vessels for varying shapes and purposes, such as the major vessels that the Maratha navy were using was Gurab, Tarande, Galbat, Shibad as well as Pal. Now, in the beginning of this video, we have discussed that celebration of Navy Day is also a way to commemorate the Operation Trident that was conducted by Indian Navy during the Indo-Pak War of 1971. So let us try to understand briefly what this operation actually was all about. So in 1971, Pakistan launched an attack on December 3rd on the Indian air bases. In response, the Indian Navy planned an attack on the night of December 4th and 5th, as Pakistan did not have the aircraft to carry out the bombing. In this context, as we can see, 3 battleships were launched or basically sent by India, and these battleships then carried out its strike and destroyed 3 Pakistani naval ships, that is PNS Khyber, that was sunk by INS Nirghat. Then we have PNS Milkafaj, that was sunk by INS Veer. And then we have MB Venus Challenger, that was sunk by the INS Nepal. So 3 naval ships of India sunk 3 naval ships of Pakistan and basically broke the back through which they could have conducted air strikes in the other regions of India. And to understand this more in a more better manner, we can understand what the Ministry of Tourism has said about this, that Indian Navy targeted the Pakistan naval headquarters in Karachi during Operation Trident as well. It launched 3 missile boats, as we discussed, Veer, Nipat and Nirghat, and Vidyut class boats toward Karachi, and was largely a successful operation that played a pivotal role in what we can say leaning the result of war toward India's side. Now, if we talk about Navy Day, since it is celebrated annually every year, there is different themes. So, for example, if we talk about this particular year, this year the theme is operational efficiency, readiness, and mission accomplishments in the maritime domain. If you go back to the past year, the theme was Swamin Vijay Vars. That means it was to mark the 50 years of India's victory in the Indo-Pakistan War of 1971. Now, if we talk about the celebration that takes place on the Navy Day, so ceremonies and events obviously takes place across all the naval bases and establishments in India. It is a time when country acknowledges the naval forces role and fostering security and establishing in the maritime domain. The celebration includes many such events such as impressive parades are held, operational demonstrations and display of naval capabilities are showcased, and also Navy's technological prowess and strategic preparedness is also exhibited in the front of dignitaries as well as the people of India. Navy Day also serves to us as a poignant reminder of the sacrifices that are made by the naval personnel to uphold the country's maritime interests and defend against the potential threats. Now, major announcement that has been made in this year on the Navy Day, let us try to understand this. So, first of all, as we know that Indian military is largely leaning toward indigenization, especially since last 8 to 10 years, and not only in the naval what we can say naval domain, but also in the air force domain as well as in the army domain. This is something that is continuously being targeted and continuously being enforced. So Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has stressed on the government's focus on the operational needs of the Indian Navy and how India is moving toward indigenization in its naval power. The best example of this we can see from the fact that first indigenous aircraft carrier of India, that is INS Vikrant, was commissioned by PM Modi a few months ago. Earlier, most equipments that was used by Indian Navy was imported either from Soviet Union in the earlier time, later from Russia, then from US or France, Germany and UK. But now Indian Navy is trying to become a builder navy from the buyer navy. And PM Narendra Modi also has said, and he has pushed for a culture rising in the ranks of Indian Navy as well. If you remember last year, the insignia of Indian Naval has changed and it has basically been inspired by Maratha Navy. Similarly, this year he has said that the ranks that the Navy personnel enjoys, or the ranks they hold, basically we can say, and officers will be renamed. The ranking as well as the rank of the officers will be renamed as per the Indian culture. Now, how this naming will be done, we have to wait and watch unless and until it is clarified fully. Now, question comes that why India felt a need to have a navy. So this we can summarize beautifully from the statement given by the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, where he said that to be secure on land, we must be supreme at sea. And this is something that we can obviously understand. The reason is because a strong navy is an important element of every maritime nation. Now, obviously, India is a maritime nation despite having 15,000 kilometers of long, what we can say as the long border that is not in sea, but what I can say is the land border. But even if you look at the sea, the coastal areas of India, it has a coastline of about 7,500 kilometers, an exclusive economic zone, which refers to the region in the sea where India enjoys exclusive and full right to extract and exploit any kind of resources, is spread over 2 million square kilometers. So due to this, India also possesses abundant oceanic wealth across all the sites, whether it is Arabian Sea or a Bay of Bengal. Also, since India is a country which contributes significantly to the global trade, almost 97% of our trade is carried by the sea route. Especially we talk about the crude oil and natural gas, on which India is largely dependent upon imports. Also, to help in times of distress, natural disasters such as floods, droughts, cyclones, earthquakes, etc., Indian Navy and its what we can say its leverage to use the sea space around India can come in very handy. Thus, to what we can say in summary, to protect our natural wealth and keep our trade routes open in order to progress, it is therefore imperative that India maintains a strong navy which is always in a high state of preparedness. And this is something that is exhibited every year in the India Navy Day celebration. Now we'll talk about the roles. What kind of roles does India Navy play? So briefly we can summarize it into 4 roles. First is obviously the military role. Second is the diplomatic role, where it favorably shape the maritime environment in the furtherance of national interest in consonance with the foreign policy and national security objective. Example is the Sagar. Similarly, we talk about constabulary role. Forces are employed to enforce law of the land or to implement a regime established by international mandate. And last we can say is the benign role that it plays in its duty of humanitarian relief as well as disaster relief, humanitarian assistance as well as disaster relief. So that is all about this particular video. I hope you understood overall about the concept of Navy Day and a brief overview of the Indian Navy. Thank you very much.